one.
Hey Rossville, I wanted to show you guys a little tutorial on Google Drawings. A lot of you guys are using Google Drawings, but I think that there are applications in pretty much every content area. And so I wanted to show some basics, but I also wanted to show some possible applications. So in order to get to Google Drawings, probably the quickest way to do it is to get to your drive. So I'm going to go to Apps and go to my Google Drive. This would work for students as well. And when I'm in my drive, certainly I can go to any particular folder and create new, but I'll just create a new Google Drawing. So I'm going to click New, and it's not listed here, but it's under the More section. So if I just hover over More, you'll see more options and go to Google Drawings. I love Google Drawings because of how versatile it is. You've got so much freedom to create. If you do anything with presentation on or have in the past on like a poster board, we can do the basic substitution here and get rid of the poster board and in place do something digital, which will open up a whole bunch of different options for students. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to name it. So I'm going to say this is a teacher example. And then what I suggest for everybody is to immediately then go to File and Page Setup. And I want to get this in widescreen, 16 by 10. Hit OK. That gives me a little bit more room and space. And you can even stretch even beyond that. The point is, if you're being asked to create on a palette or on a canvas, if you will, why not have the biggest canvas you can? So I've opened up the space here and I've got a lot of room to create. So some basic tools here. You've got your undo and redo, which is always a lifesaver. You can insert text boxes, images, charts. So my math people, my science people, my social studies people, you can have students take data and create bar graphs, columns, line graphs, pie charts, and put them in here and embed them into the drawing. They can do word art, which is exactly what it sounds like, kind of more fancy lettering. There are multiple different types of lines, including freehand scribble, which is kind of hard to do if you're like me trying to draw with a mouse. You can insert a number of shapes, which we'll talk about, and tables. Okay, so again, we can get into some data here by inserting tables and then inputting information into those tables. So let's see, what shall we start with? So let's look at something like a flowchart. Okay, this is something that's very common in an English classroom. I often would have students, rather than say to a student, okay, summarize what you read, synthesize what you read. Instead, I would say, all right, open up a Google Drawing, do a flowchart, a beginning, step by step of the plot of chapter whatever, of whatever. So there are so many different ways to do this, but you could something like this. So I could say something like, I'm going to insert a text box. So I'm going to click and drag, and then I can type in that. And of course, students will immediately find that they want to do cool stuff. They're going to probably get distracted by all the bells and whistles. And so it is our job as teachers to give them the tool, show them how to use the tool, let them have that freedom, but also not forget the focus of the assignment. So in this text box, can I fill it with a background color? Sure can. Can I change the color of the font and style, text color? Yes, I can change the text color. Can I make it something cool? Yes, I can, and so on. So we can play those games for a reasonable amount of time as well, which is all part of it. So if this was a flowchart, we need some flowchart graphics. So the next thing I might do is come to Insert, Shape, and you'll see that there are a bunch of different shapes, but there are also these arrows. And flowchart, that usually says arrow to me. So you've got some options. I'm going to go with a basic right arrow. So I'm going to click and drag, and now I've got the arrow to the next phase. And again, you can adjust the appearance. I can make this a different color. I can change the line color, which is currently black, but you can barely see it. So maybe the student wants to change the appearance. Line weight, it's at 1, but if I make it 3, there's a little bit more. And obviously you can increase it to change the appearance of the arrow. And so let's say, okay, well now they don't want to have text, they're going to actually have an image. So we're going to insert an image. And I'm going to go to search. You have all these choices. Students can actually go to their own Google Drive and find images. But if they go to search, they're going to search Google, they're going to search Life magazine and stock images, all that are labeled for commercial reuse. This is important. This is all legal. This is your digital citizenship. These are all good to go. So I'm going to type in businessman. Huh? And so I'm going to find the most generic looking business guy in a suit. And here's one. So I'm going to insert that image. And that's way too big. Way too big. So I'm going to adjust the size. Now you'll notice that I use the corner. When you adjust the size of an image, you want to drag from the corner to adjust the size. That maintains the proportions. If you drag from the side like this, or from the top right here, you are going to make these weird squatty looking images where they look stretched one way or the other. So always remember to maintain perspective. Use the diagonal, use the corners to do so. And so you can see how this might come together in a flowchart scenario where students have to show progression. This would maybe be something where they're summarizing. But what if it's a math class? Okay, so instead of a math class or a summary, maybe in the math class we'd start with the equation here. And it's, x equals, or let's 3x minus 71 equals 20 times, I'm making math up right now just to sort of fool you into thinking I know anything about it. 2 times, let's do a divide. Why not? Let's make stuff up, Marcus. Where's divide? Let's do that. That's probably not even a math thing, but just pretend. And so you could then have students go through the step-by-step by going and just inserting more text boxes. And so here's the next step. And then insert another arrow. They can just do it the easy way. They can select what they already did, copy it, paste it, drag it, and so on. And they can do step 2. So if you really want kids to focus on the step-by-step, you would be surprised how sort of repackaging it, something like this, might help that process. Shows them physically, gives them something tangible to use. So let's get out of that. So that's kind of a math example. My favorite example, of course, as an English teacher is a comic strip. So I'm going to go to Table, and I'm going to insert a 3x2 comic. That doesn't look like a comic, Mr. Painter. Well, it's going to. So double arrow means I can stretch all the way up, or close to it, all the way down. Okay, and then over here I'm going to stretch this out, and then I'm going to stretch this out. All of a sudden I have what looks like a comic strip. And so students can summarize, and they can use a comic strip to input things in here just like a comic. For example, I'll give you one example. Shape, call out. Call outs are like what we see in comics. So you can do something like that. So there are a number of applications, so don't be afraid to tinker and play with these, and let me know if I can help. Thanks.